Good Saturday afternoon. Good Saturday afternoon. We are late, but we are here talking about the Marshella Chidester case here in Michigan. I hope you guys will join us today. We're going through the case, or as we work our way through the case that we've been covering quite heavily. I want to go ahead and take a look at what has happened so far. Um, Pretty much everyone is familiar with the birthday party crash where Miss Chidester killed two small children, injured about 15 other victims or party attendees, and is now going through the prosecutorial process to uh, deal with this issue. So, what we are trying to do at this point is take a look at the case and see if we can gain some insight into um, maybe the direction of the prosecution, the direction of the defense for Ms. Chadester, and and increase our understanding and knowledge of the legal system and the process. So I want this to be an open discussion. I will be dropping the link in the description or in the comments for you guys to join me on screen if you would like to. You must have your cameras on, but I do want to make this an open forum where we can talk about the case and talk about the evidence that we're looking at and understand some deeper insights again about the legal system. In particular, in here in Michigan, where this case is, and some things will apply, in other states, but of course, we know every state has its own um, laws and regulations and all of those types of things. So I thank you. I appreciate you joining us this morning. We're going to start taking a look at um, what the crime scene uh, itself, the evidence that the prosecutors have, and the evidence what it is that the defense has or possible strategies that they have in order to try to um, defend Mrs. Chedester. At this point, um, I don't see where it's possible that the defense attorney could keep her out of jail for a double homicide. However, um, I think that the goal here is maybe to get her charges reduced. She is an elderly lady, 66 years old. And we're going to talk about that some more in terms of um, her whatever possible prison sentence she may get and all of that. So I want to give a few more minutes for some more folks to join us. And we will uh, be right back. All right. So, again, we are talking about the Michelle Chedester case. We know that on April the 20th of 2024, she left her home um, and had an accident. She bagged out of her driveway and into the truck or SUV of her neighbor. That was the first incident. And then fled that scene, we presume. We have to say allegedly, fled that scene and drove down the street and through a parking lot and crashed right into the building of the Swan Boat Club where a child's birthday was being held. So that's essentially the case. When she crashed into that building, it is said that her car went 25 feet into the pavilion of the facility or of the venue, which is precisely where a child's birthday party was being held, and in the process killed two small children who coincidentally were brother and sister, and injured 15 others. And I want to send our not only condolences to the family, but also emphasize the point that the two children, again, who were brother and sisters, that family was absolutely devastated by this incident. Not that others were not seriously injured, but this family in particular, this family was particularly harmed or devastated by this offense. Not only were the two children killed, the mother suffered a myriad of injuries. She was in a coma for 3 or 4 days. Her only surviving child still cannot walk. He had a fractured skull, other broken bones. It's just really tragic. Drunk driving is no good, folks. If you are going to drink in this day and age, it is 2024, you have all kinds of ride share, Lyft, Uber, whatever you need to do. In Mrs. Chidester's case, she lived literally almost right next door to the boat club. If that's where she wanted to go, she could have walked over there. Um, in her, again, presumed drunken state, and saved herself a whole lot of trouble, and of course those families as well. So that is the backstory. So now we have gotten through the arrest. She was given a $1.5 million bond. Actually, surprisingly, the prosecution asked for a bond for Mrs. Chidester, not her defense attorney. It was a prosecutor in the district court arraignment that actually asked for the bond. He asked for a high bond, but he is the one that suggested it. The defense was trying to get her $100,000 bond at the time. However, she did get the $1.5 million bond and was released with conditions, um, and was released with a GPS tether and some other things. She can't drive. She can't have any weapons. She can't buy any weapons. Has to surrender her passport. She has to attend all of her hearings. All of these things, submit to drug testing. And there is another monitor. I think she's wearing two monitors, to my understanding. One is the GPS tether because she's supposed to be on home confinement. The other one is some type of monitor where they are able to determine if she is drinking at all, because she part of the order is that she has to abstain from alcohol and any other, of course, illicit drugs. So, and then have formal, probably random testing whenever they decide to test her or drop her, as they say in the criminal justice system. So all of that is, so we've gotten through that phase. And of course, she was bound over for trial. That means she goes to the next level court system, which is the circuit court. Now, this is all of these things in terms of the different types of courts, or how the court system is set up. These are all in reference to how it is set up here in Michigan. Again, every state has their own process, procedures, court systems, and all of that. Who is here? Coach Karen says she stated she was invited to the party. Was that ever confirmed? Actually, she had given several different accounts to the police officers when she initially, if you've seen all of the videos, they're out there, they're everywhere. Um, this is probably is one of the most uh, filmed crimes that I've ever seen. I mean, there's footage from all kinds of angles and all of that stuff. So even prior to the crash, there's video of her even leaving her house and all of that stuff. But anyway, if you've seen the videos, she did give several different accounts of whether or not she was attending the birthday party or not. The initial officer, I believe, was Sergeant Michael Bomia, who was the first on the scene. He asked her, "Were you coming for the birthday party? Why are you here? Why did you come to the boat club?" She said, "Oh no, I wasn't coming for the party." And she said something else, but it's kind of intelligible. You can't really understand what she's saying on that body camera, what was captured on his body cam. Then, by the time she actually had the interview with the deputy who was not in court for the original probable cause hearing, I believe it was, she told him that she was there to attend a party. And that at this point has never been cleared up. So we still don't really know. Um, no, so no, it was not confirmed if she was actually coming to the party. She was actually a member of that boat club and had been something what they call a commodore. I don't know what that means, but she was, I guess, uh, uh, very much involved in um, the with the boat club and was a long time member there. It's an alcohol monitor and a GPS monitor. Yeah, I know that it's some type of, but there's a name that they called the alcohol monitor, and I can't recall it at this particular moment. She said, right, Coach Karen says, right, I was just trying to decipher if she thought that was her reasoning for leaving her home to go there. You know, um, in the original arraignment, the judge did something very unusual, which it was allow victims to speak. The family members of the dead children, and all of them were able to address the court, and that is quite unusual at that stage. Um, and one of the and there were some people that were on Zoom and some that were in person in the courtroom. They did one of the boat club members, a gentleman. I cannot remember his name, but said that um, he said that he believed that she was came to the boat club because she was fleeing the other accident. As we said, she had just bagged out of her driveway and hit her neighbor's car. She bagged right into, I mean, that car had to be totaled. And she did quite a bit of damage to the front end of her own vehicle. I think it was a 2017 Ford Edge. If you look at the video footage after she hits his car, you can see and speeds off. You can see she has front end damage as well. Now, but it is said that she hit also a tree and backed into the vehicle of her neighbor. So, but at any rate, he believes that she came there fleeing the other accident so she wouldn't get caught drunk driving, because the accusation from that individual was that she is always drunk. She is always drinking in excess and having to be helped to her car, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, um, so that's that. Side SoberLink is the name of the ankle monitor. Thank you, Coach Karen. Yeah, I know they called it something. They had a name for it. I just couldn't really. Actually, I couldn't hear from the video what they were actually saying, but I knew it was a specific name. All right, so we've gone through that, so we understand what happened. And so now we're at the point of, let me see if I can pull these up, of the prosecution's case, where we can start to, um, well, I wanted to give us a visual of sorts to help us understand, um, or possibly understand where the case is right now. Um, One of the things that I want to say is that the prosecution's case is overwhelming. I mean, the amount of evidence that they have, I just don't know how the defense is going to be able to overcome the absorbent amount of evidence that they have against this lady. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, if you follow true crime cases, I mean, they are piecing these cases together to get to prosecute people. Most of the evidence is what they call circumstantial because they don't have physical evidence of a lot of stuff. Uh, a lot of times it's the body itself, the victim's body or the weapon that was used is missing, or no witnesses, no, and they have to track people's cell phones to put them at the scene of the crime, and they have to do all kinds of tricks to even put a case on someone. So the amount of, I mean, they have. So let's take a look at this chart. Let's take a look at this chart really quickly. And I want to, I did, I want to make it so that you guys can have copies of these charts. This is just something that I drew up. It's not technical or anything like that. I'm not an attorney. I'm a social worker. And so so this is just my little interpretation of the case as I see it at this point. And I would like for you guys to actually have copies. So I need to figure out how I can link you guys to, maybe check the description or something after the live, and I'm going to figure out how I can get this link to you, so that you can have copies of it. So because we're going to do more of these conversations as we go through the case. It should I anticipate it going on for a while. On one hand, on the other hand, I'm not sure. It may I have a sneaky feeling that it may go quickly, because I think that the again, like I said, the defense has so much to overcome. Um, I I would think that he would go for a plea deal, especially with her age and all of that. So any sentence they give her is a life sentence. She's 66 years old. If she does 5 years, I mean, come on. With chronic health conditions and all of that, we know about the seizures and neuropathy. But to my understanding, there is she has multiple chronic illnesses and things like that. So, and there's something I want to discuss about that as well. But at any rate, so let's take a look at the prosecution's case at this point. And again, this is my own drawing or mock up of the case as I see it. So when we look at we start off with the actual incident, which boils down to a collision. She is charged with with driving under the influence, of course. Um, and so it is. So that's where we start, and then we start to follow the lines in terms of corroborating evidence that they have. They have the deceased children that were on the scene. We have living injured victims that were on the scene. We have eyewitnesses, the party attendees, and the facility workers and things like that on the scene. So just right there is a substantial amount of evidence. And she admitted to being the driver and drinking 1/2 hour before she came there. If you go back again and listen to the videos, she told Officer or Sergeant Bomia of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office He was the first on the scene. He was the supervising sergeant on the scene and the first to arrive. He was there even before first responders got there. Remember, he talked about he observed after he pulled her out of the situation because she was actually still sitting in there when the other um, people were lifting the car to pull little Zane out because he was trapped under her tire. They didn't realize that the little girl was on the other side of the car near her other tire. But at that moment they recognized this 4-year-old baby was trapped under her tire, and then you see them lift the car up and actually carry this baby. Someone carried that baby out in their arms. It's just horrible to watch. However, she admitted not only to being the driver, but drinking 1/2 hour before she got there. The officer asked her, "Have you been drinking today?" She says, "Yes, a little bit." He said, "How long ago was it that you had a drink?" She said, "Oh, about 30 minutes ago." So that debunks this whole theory of her attorney, who says that she had one glass of wine 4 hours prior to the incident, about 11 or 12 that afternoon. The accident happened at 3 o'clock, right? So, okay, so there's that. Okay, so after that, and we're talking about the evidence, the prosecution's case, and all of the evidence that they have stacked against Mrs. Chidester. So we have the two deceased children on the scene. We got eyewitnesses. We have injured victims right there on the scene. Okay, no investigation has started yet, and her admission right there on the scene, right in it, right there. They had all of that off the top before they even begin an investigation and start questioning neighbors and pulling home videos and all of that stuff. So okay, then you come down a slight bit, and there's the video evidence. The video evidence alone is uh, awesome, for lack of a better word, because you have the accident captured from multiple different angles. The neighbor, I believe his name was William Smith, uh, he had a camera on the rooftop of his home. He lives across the street from the boat club and from Miss Chidester as well. He took his camera phone because he was on his way out to walk the dog, heard the commotion, heard the crash, and started walking across the street to find out what was going on. He thought it was some kids, some punk kids that crashed into a building. So he's thinking, let me help the police. Let me gather some evidence. I need to catch this right at the beginning, or get these first moments on film if I can, right away. And he goes over there. So he's got her car, unbeknownst to him, I'm sure at that point, captured, fleeing, speeding down the street. The vehicle was already out of control. Um, from the camera on the roof of his house. Then he takes his cell phone. Again, like I said, he was walking his dog. I don't know if he said he was getting ready to walk the dog. I don't know if he took him with him. But he goes across the street to the Swan Boat Club and starts filming. He walks through the hole that was created by Mrs. Chidester when she plowed through that building, and catches all of this disaster in real time. You know, The car being lifted up, the different men in the I guess that were at the party and that worked there are lifting this, trying to lift it, move people out of the way to lift this building because they see the baby. So that he catches all of this, and so you got that. So that's two cameras right there. Not to mention the parking lot cameras at the boat club, the cameras inside the actual facility, the in the breezeway or walkway. I'm assuming that is what they're referring to, like a corridor camera. They had a camera directly inside the pavilion where the party was being held. They had a total of 4 cameras, according to testimony, in the facility itself that caught her approaching the building, hitting the building, coming through the building, and running people, plowing people down. I mean, if you saw this, and I'm sure everybody's seen the footage at this point. I mean, it's unimaginable to be standing there eating, talking, and just casually, and out of nowhere, here comes this. I mean, it's crazy, right? So, okay, so you got that footage. Then we're still talking about evidence. We're talking about the stack up of evidence for the prosecutor's case. Then for how the one detective said, Daniel, whomever, he says that they found out or got word that Mrs. Chidester herself had cameras on her house. So they get a warrant and go and search her home. Right? So when they go and search her home, they find 4 cameras there, one on the barn, one in the kitchen, I believe, in the inside of the house. Because they said that they found the CPU and the monitors to her home security system upstairs in a room like an attic like. But they said she had 4 cameras, one on her house, one on the barn, and one in the kitchen and somewhere else. And so they again are able to capture her leaving her home minutes. I think it was like 3 minutes. All of this happened in 3 minutes. She was leaving her home around 2:57. And she looked like she was drunk at that point. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that. So she's leaving. They capture her on her own home security system, leaving her house, coming out the front door, walking down the steps, going into her barn for a few moments to do whatever, and getting in the car. When she took off, when she put that car in reverse and began to back out of her driveway, she looked it appears even at that moment that vehicle was already out of control. Right? Then she backs up, hits the tree, which is not seen. It's not in the view of the camera or whatever, and then backs into the crashes her neighbor's SUV and speeds off. Where she's wiggling down the road at that point. Again, like I said, it appears she was already drunk. So when she told the original officers that she had just had some wine 30 minutes before she came to the boat club, I believe her. Even her walking down the stairs, she looks like she was already intoxicated. So you have all of this video evidence, and then we start into the technical stuff. The one officer, the arresting officer, that took her to the hospital, he took her, specifically to get blood tests, probably to have her checked out as well. I'm sure she had some injuries, crashing through a building like that. Um, but on the scene, he asked her if she needed medical attention. She said no. So she denied needing any help, having any injuries at that point. I don't know if they're going to bring that back up. If that's going to be an issue later in the case or not. Um, all right, who's saying something? Hold on, okay, because I want to see you guys' comments. Okay, that we saw that already. Oh, yeah, the 0.18. Yeah, super drunk. So the blood test that we're talking about, thank you, Brooke Amber, for joining us today. I think maybe this may be your first time being with us. Um, super drunk, 0.18, her blood alcohol level. 0.18, two times the legal limit in the state of Michigan. I believe the minimum is 0.07. At a high, the limit is 0.17, and she tested 0.18. So this is what uh, the legal term again here in Michigan is super drunk. Now there's a whole issue with that because um, in Michigan there are specific laws as it relates to uh, testing above a 0.17. That is called that is the considered the high limit, the high limit for blood alcohol level. So if you go beyond that, then basically, as far as Michigan, the state of Michigan is concerned, you're in a stupor. Have absolutely no business behind the wheel of a car. So, because there are specific regulations as it relates to an excessively high blood alcohol level, what comes with that is stiffer penalties. There are harsher sanctions on that level of content in your system, that level of alcohol in your system. So, although the two second-degree murder charges carry a maximum of a life sentence, they could slap on some extra years just because of this super drunk law here. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. Okay, so he had her blood tested and she tested at a 0.18. They also got the event data recorder or black box, if you will, um, from her vehicle. This is a tracking system on cars, and I learned a lot when it comes to this because I didn't even realize that cars have a quote unquote black box. I know airplanes have them, but excuse me for my uh, a lack of knowledge on that issue. I had no idea that there was a black box in vehicles. However, they did retrieve that information, and so basically these data recorders that are on our cars will capture events if there's enough movement in a car to wake up the EDR system. Then it'll start recording if the vehicle straightens out and levels off and goes back to a normal speed and all of that stuff, then it will overwrite itself. Basically, I guess it will just erase it until the next event. So anytime that there's a crash, it's going to pick up the braking. Well, even before you crash, it tracks whether or not you even put on your seatbelt from the testimony of the detective. So this is a very sophisticated system, this EDR. Um, and so when they pull that data, no defense there. Yeah, it's going to be hard to. I don't see how he's going to overcome. I think he should go for a plea deal. in this case. It's just too much evidence to overcome. Yes, thank you for covering this. You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, Miss Amber. Um, I didn't realize that either. Yeah. If you talk about the black box, yeah, I had no idea that we had those on our cars. So I actually learned something from that. I was really interested in that testimony. But at any rate, what happened is that this event data recorder was able to pick up her braking, if she hit her brakes, if she had her foot on the gas pedal, um, if she hit anything, whether she was going forward or backwards. I mean, it's really something. So what the detective said is that not only it picked up the first event when she crashed into the neighbor's car driving in reverse, but then it also picked up her driving speed heading to the boat club and what speed she was at the point of impact. So let me give you those numbers really quick if you don't know them all, just in case you don't know them already. It says that her throttle speed, which is the pressure that we apply to the gas pedal, was 96.6%. Now, what he says about the throttle speed is anything that is over 70% means that the gas pedal is to the floor. So this is very interesting because we're going to talk about her medical conditions and something that was brought up by the defense as it relates to this. So the brake was off, and she was traveling at a speed of 44.3 miles per hour. Now, again, this tracking system gives tells you not only how fast you were going, but if you are accelerating. So basically, what he said was that from the time that she started approaching the boat club, I guess coming through that Branshaw Street and over into the parking lot and hit the building, she was consistently accelerating. Probably why the throttle percentage was at 96.6, because her travel speed was constantly going up. So she wasn't even attempting to hit the brake. I don't know. Again, the defense seems to have an explanation for this as it relates to her health, medical conditions, and we'll talk about that in a second. But this is what happened. They are able to determine all of this. So 96.6, 96.6 throttle speed, pressure, that's the pressure on the gas pedal, no brakes, and the travel speed was, I mean, the impact speed was 44.3 miles per hour. Um, so that's that. Now, when we talk about, and I forgot to mention as it relates to the blood alcohol level, the officers. This is important. The officers also talked about any physical signs of intoxication. This is very, very important. I used to do substance abuse counseling back in 2007, or whatever. And so there's certain physical signs of various different drugs. You can determine rather, even what type of drug, or if it's alcohol, based on physical signs. Certain drugs cause the eyes to leak, the nose to run, all of those types of things. Those are generally opiates. Um, and cocaine is more, you know um anxiety and those types of things. But alcohol um also has the bloodshot eyes, which they said was observed with Mrs. Chidester. um So not only did she admit to drinking 30 minutes before, she said she had wine. She also had the bloodshot eyes, watery eyes, and the smell of intoxicants on the person. So she smelled like alcohol. Most people who drink a lot, that stuff starts coming through the pores. So even when they're not drinking, they could potentially still smell like alcohol. But at any rate, so there were also physical signs of intoxication. Now let's talk about the wine for a minute because this is another thing within itself. All wines are not created equally. Now, most wines have a 12% alcohol content or concentration, but there are fortified wines and all kinds of stuff. So at some point, I'm wondering if that will come into question. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with the issue of how much or how drunk she was. Because remember, the defense attorney, Bill Kolovos, local attorney here in Michigan, tried to, and he said in the article that he's going to go for trying to get that evidence, the blood evidence, thrown out because he said it's tainted. He doesn't like the way the sample was handled. He tried to get off into it at the probable cause hearing at the district court level to no avail because the judge just didn't wasn't even hearing it. He tried to go into questioning the officer about the label on the blood and all of that stuff. Um, and as far as the judge was concerned, take it to trial because they've gone far beyond to reach it to the beyond the standard of probable cause. They've established it. Period. So again, um, the alcohol is an issue. Coach Karen says, well, and the medical condition is gonna even further. I'm sorry, is going to even further attacked by prosecution because she stated she didn't need medical treatment. Exactly. See, all of these little nuances, and I'm sure they're going to go back through the videos and nitpick all of this stuff out once again. If there's a trial, now there's going to be a preliminary exam on August the 23rd, 2024. I'm going to try to bring you live coverage of that as well. And so we'll go through that process again, kind of similar to what happened before, where we're talking to the investigating officers, and other personnel that was on the scene. Law enforcement personnel would probably hear from some witnesses, victims, and all of that stuff. So there is going to be testimony and all of that at the preliminary exam on August the 23rd. So some things we'll hear again, but then we'll also get a chance to probably look at some additional questioning or lines of questioning or strategy from the prosecution. And that's one of the things that will probably come up. Okay, Sin L, thank you so much for joining us. From the time of drinking at the tavern and getting back in the car after being home for hours, she had time to drink privately. Absolutely. Let me read that again. Absolutely. I think that's exactly what happened. Sin L says, from the time of drinking at the tavern, remember the lawyer said she had drank one glass of wine and ate a bowl of chili at Verna's Tavern 4 hours before the incident. The incident happened at 3. So he's saying between 11 and 12 o'clock, and they had the receipts for it. That was all part of the investigation. So he had proof, solid proof, that that's all she had at the tavern 4 hours before. However, when you look at the video that was seized by the sheriffs, when she was coming out of her house, she looks intoxicated then. She gets in the vehicle and she has lost control of that vehicle essentially when she first gets in it. She's drunk. So what does Sinel say? She says, from the time of drinking at the tavern and getting back in her car after being home for hours, she had time to drink privately. I totally agree. Great comment. I think that's exactly what happened. I think that's exactly what happened. She had plenty of time to sit home and continue to drink. Or, and get this, take medication. Because remember, she tested positive for gabapentin. This is a very powerful nerve pill. They call it an anticonvulsant because a lot of times it is used to treat seizures. It is commonly used to treat seizures, but it's also common to treat neuropathy, which is another condition that he claims she has. The defense attorney. And it was corroborated by the detective because he did say that they did pull her medical records and he did uh, stipulate to the fact that he did see neuropathy as one of her medical conditions, although he also said he did not completely read her medical file. So we still don't know what all the health issues are. But epilepsy and neuropathy is pretty well corroborated. So what was we talking about? We were talking about the physical signs of intoxication. So again, when you talk about drinking wine, what kind of wine did she drink? What was the alcohol content in the wine? Did she take her medication that day? Because what happens, if you look at the video that I dropped yesterday, I apologize for the sound. I don't know what happened. The sound was fine when I uploaded it. There's parts of it where the volume is really low, so we'll have to turn it up at some points during that video. It's called Defending Marshella Chidester or something like that. However, I talk about the additive effects of mixing gabapentin and alcohol in particular. Hold on just a second. Mike Stevens says a lot. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I talk about the additive effects of mixing gabapentin and alcohol. Both of them. Now, gabapentin is not a narcotic, although it is still a scheduled drug. It is still a controlled substance. However, which means that you have to have a prescription to get it. But both alcohol and gabapentin have a sedating effect. They hit the same neurotransmitters in the brain and take travel through the synapse. This is substance abuse stuff, but it goes through the synapse, crosses the blood-brain barrier, and all of that. So, but they both have sedating effects. So when you mix them, there's an additive effect in substance abuse because there's substance dependence and there's substance abuse. We need to distinguish between the two. Substance dependence mean when you refer to somebody as an alcoholic, they just drink all the time. They drink all day, every day, as much as they can. This is what they do. Substance abuse could be someone who occasionally gets drunk, overdoes it, those types of things, but they have a problem with that issue. If they are drinking, they may have an issue with abusing the alcohol when they do it. And so that would be a substance abuser as opposed to being dependent, substance dependent. So I want to make that distinction as well. However, did we get another comment? Coach Karen, is that, and that's also where even if the blood alcohol level is thrown out, here comes the expert to break it down and give their opinion on the level of impairment in drug interactions. Yeah, I don't see how it won't come up. It's got to come up. 0.18, one glass of wine. If he's going to stick with that story that she only had one glass of wine that day at the tavern 4 hours before, they have to go for the drug interaction issue. They have to, because there has to be an explanation as to why her blood alcohol level tested that high without it being a testing error, which is what the defense attorney is claiming. The sample was contaminated. They mishandled the sample. It was mixed up with somebody else's blood. When he referred to it as saying that the blood level tested that high because it's a false positive, what he's saying essentially is it's an error. False positives and false negatives are testing errors for various reasons. The blood got mixed up with somebody else's. The blood got contaminated. It wasn't properly sealed. The needles to draw the blood wasn't sterilized. Now, here's the other thing in terms of blood testing. Certain foods, even fruit and things like that, can cause a blood test, cause an error in a blood test. Now, this is really a thing, a true thing. The sesame seed, the sesame seeds on the McDonald's hamburgers can make a person test positive for opiates. So we're going to see how far they go with this thing. It's going to be interesting to watch. But yeah, the drug interaction is going to have to come up because they have to explain why that, but without short of the blood was contaminated in some way. The test wasn't done properly. The test was mishandled. The sample was mishandled or whatever. Then there has to be an explanation. And this is one of them. Number one, what type of wine was she drinking? What was the blood alcohol concentration of that particular wine? Again, most wines have about a 12% alcohol content in it. But you have fortified wines and you have other processes. You got distilled wines and all, you know, all wines are not considered created equal, as we said. Okay, so you got that, and then you have the drug interaction of mixing the alcohol with the gabapentin. Now, here's the deal with that. When you do that, when you're mixing alcohol with these medications, you there's a sedating effect that happens. Again, both of these types of drugs do the same things. They hit the same neurotransmitters. So when you do that, you have extreme you become extremely lethargic, extreme drowsiness, loss of coordination, and not just concentration, but loss of coordination. Again, the defense attorney mentioned the fact that she has a condition, the neuropathy condition, which he brought up in the second hearing, the probable cause hearing, and he said her leg froze. No, I'm sorry, it was in the first hearing in the arraignment at the district court level. He said that her condition causes her legs to freeze, which would explain why she was consistently laying on that gas pedal, accelerating and not able to hit the brake. And that is a legitimate argument. Now, medically, it's a legitimate argument. Legally, we have to find out how that plays out legally. But let me say this as well. In Michigan, we do have laws as it relates specifically to epilepsy. People cannot have a driver's license with epilepsy unless they submit documentation to our Secretary of State or whatever. There's I guess a regulation regulatory authority that handles this type of stuff through our DMV. Um, that where you're not even eligible to have a driver's license with the for those who suffer with epilepsy. You have to go through a series of proving that that you're on the medication, that the medication has the condition under control, and that it is also controlling the symptoms of the condition that could be unsafe while you're operating a vehicle. And your doctor has to certify that. So I anticipate the doctor being called in. Mike Stevens, welcome to you. He says if she knew about the neuropathy, she had no business ever drinking. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. She's old enough, and I'm sure, depending on when she was diagnosed with the condition, understands how her medications affect her. Now, again, when we talk about the epilepsy, the laws regulating epilepsy and driving, the law states, when I looked at it, it says that not only does the doctor have to certify that the medication is controlling the condition and the symptoms of the condition, but it has to be controlled at least 6 months. So when the attorney in the arraignment said that she had been suffering from that condition, he said a couple of things that kind of got brushed over, skipped over, or whatever, that I thought was interesting. He said that she's been suffering with this condition since November of last year, the epilepsy, which is only which this incident happened April 20th, so that will only be 5 months. She told the officer that she had a card from her doctor or somewhere that cleared her for driving. Then the attorney also said that she had been treated for the neuropathy in her legs that day. Did anybody else hear that? Was anybody else paying attention to that during that first arraignment, where some of the family members, the judge let some of the family members talk? So yeah, she said, so it's been a lot of little things that's been being thrown out there. I don't, it could be the machine gun effect, where they're just, or whatever, where they're just throwing stuff up against the wall to see what sticks. I don't know. But the thing of it is, it's just all these little things you hear in the process. So she said that she told the officer, when he asked her what happened on the scene, she said she blacked out. She don't remember what happened after she got in. She remembers going in the parking lot, coming into the parking lot, but she don't remember anything else after that. Mike Stevens, she's cooked either way. Yeah, I agree. It's too much to overcome. This is one of the most documented cases that I've ever seen. The evidence is just, I mean, out of this world. So if you notice with this is a look at the prosecution case. Again, those of you that are just joining us, this is just my little drawing, my little interpretation. It's not anything technical or scientific or anything like that. I just try to give us a visual of where we are, and I'm going to try and get this into the description box after the live and see it, so that you guys can download it, so as we have these conversations, we can continue to follow through, add to it, take away from it, correct some things, whatever. Again, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm a social worker. Then we look at so this is the defense's case. As you can see, is not many overlapping arrows and things. There's a big difference in the evidence between the prosecution and the defense. The prosecution case, the defense's case. Lots of holes to fill. Lot of holes in the defense's case. So I mean, so in his case, again, we start with the collision. He's going for the medical conditions that is a combination between the epilepsy, neuropathy, and other unknown conditions. He mentioned it that she has that she's on a lot of medication, which could work on her behalf uh, at the in the end, and at her age, if depending on how he handles this case and his ability to negotiate. If he does not get a plea deal, then there is a very strong possibility that she could get still not do all of the time because of her age and her health status. That is, and that's something that's not a state of Michigan thing. That's a U.S. Department of Justice thing. They have conditions for early release, and one of them is something called compassion release or something like that, where they can't really function in a based on their physical, mental, or mental health status and their age. They can't really function in a correctional facility and things like that. So that's a very real thing. We talk about that later. Okay, so in the defense's case, we have her medical conditions, epilepsy, neuropathy that we know about. Those are the two we know about, and other unknown conditions. We have the blood alcohol level, but he claims that it's a false positive, that there was a testing error. The blood is tainted, but when we look at blood alcohol level, we also have the issue of drug interaction. You guys are commenting. Let's see. Cynthia Sweezy, thank you so much for joining us. The defense does not have much of anything to work with. No, they do not. Very little, in fact. The guy in the back with the glasses looks creepy. He's not really here. He's That's funny. I think it's a lady there too. Yeah. Did you check her out? Okay. They're not here for real. Yeah. Mike says the defense is throwing everything against the wall, hoping something sticks. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Mike. I think that he's just talking. This guy, but now I did look at his bio, Bill Kolovos. Where's my picture of Kolovos? Bill Kolovos. Bill Kolovos. They say he has 39 years of legal experience and specializes in DUI and OUI cases. So maybe he's got some tricks up his bag. When they did the arraignment at circuit court, which lasted all of 2 minutes, he asked the judge for the preliminary exam in August because he needs to review and retain experts. I'm sure he's going for number one, medical experts. Number two, he's going to have to try and get some character witnesses and all of that stuff. And some auto collision experts, because he also does personal injury. So I'm sure that he deals with car accident victims as well. So as an attorney, I'm sure he has people in the auto collision business who will challenge the event data recorder evidence from her car, the black box, and provide another interpretation of that data. What else? Let's see. Cindy Sweetie, they are trying for a Jose Baez miracle and his spaghetti. And his spaghetti. Yeah. I mean, he just, she did a royal screw up that day. I mean, just phenomenal, the mistake she made getting in that car that day. Uh those poor babies, that poor family. Mariah Dodds, I believe is her name, the mother. My heart goes out to her. She just eviscerated that little family. It's tragic and ruined her own life in the process. I don't know if she has children or whatever, but she did a doozy thing. We know this is not the first time she's been in that car like that, but never has gotten caught because the defense said she doesn't even have so much as a speeding ticket. She's been driving over 50 years. I don't know how she managed that. Probably because she fled the accident like she did when she pulled out that driveway and tore up her neighbor's car. What are you guys saying? All right, she turned the whole family, ruined the whole family, and left others traumatized. Yeah, they're going to be in therapy probably for the rest of their lives. Um, uh, that young man, what's his name? JD, the brother, only surviving child of Mariah Dodds. He's, I believe, 12 years old. That poor baby. I cut that footage out of my videos. He was bleeding from his eyes. Mike Stevens says, "Is if there's a not guilty verdict, they better get her out of town quickly." I'm glad you said that because I need to ask a question, and I want to make it a question for everybody. Girls has um, this has crushed the community. Yes. Yeah, I got you, Coach Karen. Miss Sweeney says, I can't believe she posted the $1.5 million bond. It says not, court document says it's non-monetary, a surety bond. Now, exactly what that means, I'm not sure. I don't know if the bail bondsman, if she had to put up the house or whatever. But it does specify that the bond was non-monetary. But to my understanding, she does have money. Sin L says, how terrible that she couldn't have veered left instead of right. Left leads across the parking lot to a mowed down field. Even if she had to turn that wheel, had the presence of mind to turn her wheel again, like you said, to the left and tore up other people's cars, I would have preferred that. I mean, anybody would. She'd have been in big trouble. She'd have got sued. They'd have sued her pants off. But that would have been better than all of this death and devastation. Coach says she put up property most likely and paid 10% for the bond. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, thank you. So, and I'm glad that you guys are mentioning the community because here's the question of the day. Because in this article, the defense attorney told a news reporter, and let me see if I can put a banner up. Um, Let me see if I can put a banner up because the attorney told a news reporter that he intends to put in for a change of venue at the preliminary exam on August 23rd because he says she can't get a fair trial in the community. So let me see if I can put this banner up. And if I have a typo, overlook it. Okay. All right. Okay. Here's our question of the day. Can Marshella Chidester get a fair trial in her community? That's our question of the day. Let's talk about that real quick. How long we been on? Yeah, it's 3 o'clock. So we'll continue this conversation next week. She put up property. Oh yeah. Okay. Could this have been a suicide attempt? Now, again, and my dog is barking. Forgive me. Um, Interesting question, Mike, because if you guys remember, again, from that first arraignment in district court, the one of the family members said that she came, she did, she aimed her car at the very location where her husband normally sits. Did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch that in that first arraignment hearing? They said that she tried to kill her husband. They're thinking that is what she was trying to do, because they said she turned her car, and that's why I said there's so many little nuances that got skipped over, that needs to be, that some of this stuff needs to be brought back in focus. But yeah, who knows? Again, the lawyer Kolovos, where's his picture? He said it's the neuropathy. Her legs froze and she couldn't hit the brake. So yeah, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Let's get to some more of your comment. Good question, Mike. Mrs. Rex, Miss Rex Murphy. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. I don't think she was sober enough to form a thought of suicide. Good point. She was quite drunk, whether it was from a combination of the medication and a little alcohol. She did say, I've been drinking a little bit. That's what she told the first officer. A change of venue is needed. Okay, this is to answer the question. This is our question, guys. Um, can Marshella Chidester get a fair trial in her community? Again, this is according to a news report where her attorney suggests that he is going to ask for a change of venue because she cannot get to, also not just the community outrage, but also the publicity in the case. I guarantee you this is going to be a national case before it's all over with. They're kind of laying back a little bit, but I think it's going to get bigger. Sin says even Swan Boat Club, where she once was a Commodore, right, is distancing itself from her, let alone the entire community. Yeah, Swan Boat Club was sued as well by the family of those two kids. I believe the father filed a civil suit. They have disposed his individual case and combined all of those cases. There's so many people suing her, but the Swan Boat Club and Burns Tavern were named in that civil case as because the accusation against Swan Boat Club said they had building violations, city code stuff, as well as just poor maintenance and all of that kind of stuff. So the family is suing Swan Boat Club as well. All right. He said no. Mike is saying no. She cannot get a fair trial. I caught that about the hubby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They sure said it. She aimed that vehicle right where her husband is normally sitting. They certainly said that. Well, their intent may be in the DA's opening. What do you mean? Explain that to me, Coach Karen. Well, then intent may be in the DA's opening. Well, what do you mean in terms of if she was trying to kill her husband or something like that, kill herself or her husband? Then, well, yeah, but again, now again, the district court judge said there doesn't need to be intent in order to charge her with a second degree murder, because the defense attorney was trying to get them to drop to lower charges, because he said her medical conditions caused the accident. You can't hold her criminally responsible because she has a medical condition. The problem is that we have laws regulating the condition here in Michigan. So, all right. So we'll see if that even comes up. Cynthia says seizure or not, bagging up into the neighbor's car should have been alarming. Should have been alarming and made her go back home. If she wasn't going to knock on the neighbor's door and tell them that she tore up their car, again, like I said, the defense attorney is using the fact that she doesn't have so much as a parking ticket as a badge of honor. But I have a suspicion that I suspect that she doesn't have a parking ticket because she runs. What y'all think? That's not the first time she did that. Blah blah blah. Love the name. I love that. If she's, I used to put little cartoon characters when I was in corporate America saying blah blah blah. Anyway, if she's had a history of epilepsy, she should have to be seizure free. Yeah, in Michigan, you do have to be see those symptoms have to be under control in order for you to be eligible for a driver's license here. I have had those injections, and she shouldn't have been driving in the first place. Yep, yep, yep. They also tell you before you have those injections, you must have a driver. Yeah, but she claimed that she had was cleared to drive. She told that officer on the scene that she had a card or something, but she didn't have it with her. Remember, she turned around like she was getting ready to go into her purse, but she said, "Oh, I don't have it with me." Um, he says, I myself have neuropathy. That doesn't happen. Neither does restless leg syndrome. Okay. Wait a minute. You have neuropathy. So restless leg syndrome is not a part of the neuropathy? Because I think that there are sensory disturbances where you have numbness and tingling and all of that stuff. Here's the other thing about neuropathy. Certain types of neuropathy also causes seizures. Yes. So this medical stuff, how they flesh that out, is going to be interesting as well. Cynthia says, change the location just because we don't want her to get any appeal after she's found responsible. Yeah. Swan Boat Club, no barriers between building and parking lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that was one of the things that was said in the civil complaint. I'm gonna pull that stuff. All of this stuff costs money. Everything costs money. But I'm gonna try and pull some of those records, those documents, court documents, as well, so I can show them to you guys. Cynthia says yes, she was looking for she was looking for her husband. That's terrible. I don't know. She drank and felt well. The lawyer says that they live in peace in retirement. So okay, she drank and felt rage, and she wanted to hurt her husband. It's very possible. I believe it's reasonable to request a change of venue. Yeah, her medical claims are false. Blah 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 says they don't cause those issues. Okay, restless leg syndrome though. I thought that that was a part of neuropathy. I don't know about the leg freezing up. Is that different from restless leg syndrome? Anyway, okay. If you know, let me know. Blah blah blah. Mike says, but she knew about the medical conditions prior and she still drove the car. Absolutely. That's why I said I suspect that she was at home drinking even after she had her bowl of chili and a glass of wine at the tavern. She had still had a few hours to account for, supposed to be, before she came to the club, and so she had plenty of time to drink. And she when she came out of her door on the video surveillance from her barn, that was attached to her barn that was seized by the sheriffs, she certainly looks inebriated coming out of the house before she even got in the car. Dr. Detroit, hello, 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 hello. Gabapentin and booze do not mix. That's right. It can be very deadly if you do both. Let me say this again. The additive effects, there is an additive effect of gabapentin, and of course, the drug interaction for all kinds of drugs with alcohol it's not just this one particular drug. But in terms of, since we're talking about gabapentin, there is an additive effect. Gabapentin is not an opiate, it's not even a narcotic, but it is a controlled substance. You have to have a prescription to get it. And there is, they both create or elicit a sedating effect. So when they are combined, and some people even use things like gabapentin because they were trying to get gabapentin. They were pushing gabapentin to basically replace benzodiazepines because drug abusers were using the benzos to boost the high of the opiate drugs. Now they're abusing they're doing the same thing with gabapentin. This is a common thing. So you can so the issue with mixing the gabapentin and the alcohol, you're high risk for respiratory depression, meaning you can just stop breathing, right? So overdose, death, of course. But there is, in terms of the effects, in terms of the drug interaction, and what effects it causes, you have extreme drowsiness, lethargy, loss of coordination, right? And loss of balance, and all of that stuff is all a part of that. So yeah. All right. No way she could have been. All right. Just like Sarah and okay, I'm sorry, somebody's talking. No, they are different from each other. I think it's the opposite, because those with diabetes most often have neuropathy. True, it's a issue. Restless legs is a muscular skeletal issue. Okay, I'm gonna look that up. Blah blah blah. Thank you for the information, because I need to we need to decipher that properly. All right, magnesium is great for restless legs. Okay, good to know, Miss Rex Murphy. Thank you for that. I know Marshella and her husband, Don. Okay. I was a member of Swan for over 10 years. She's not a nice person. She's always treated me rudely. I am sorry to hear that. But very interesting. You have to keep up with us so that we can glean from your insight. Yeah, and some of the things that some one of the other members talked about is he was testifying to the fact that she drinks a lot, and always has to be helped to her car from the facility every time when she's there. Do you remember the guy that was sent to jail and drove his family into the river? Him, I believe, and he's sitting in jail. Same thing. She's trying. Oh, okay. I don't remember that case though. Tell me the name of that case. I remember the lady in North Carolina many moons ago. Oh God, that drove her kids into the river. Two small boys. Think she's just about ready to get out now. Um, Coach says lady was tipping them back at home. Yep, it's an educated guess and speculation, of course. Yeah, I think so. I totally agree. Let's see the doctor's note stating that she just continues to dig her hole. Yeah, absolutely. I want to see the clearance, the card that she said that cleared her to drive. Yeah, but also it also causes lesions on the brain, gabapentin. Oh, really? All of these drugs have so many side effects. They're treating you for one thing, um, and killing you with something else. It's a mess. I went to high school with him, Lawrence Delisle. Okay, cool. Dr. Detroit. I know these medications say do not drink on the bottle. Yep, absolutely. It's no way they clear her if her doctor's been treating her. I'm sure they also know she has a drinking problem. I have stories about Marshella, several. Yeah, you have to come in and hang out with us, Dr. Detroit. Um, Dr. Detroit, is she a lush? So they're asking you questions. Uh, let's see, Dr. Detroit. While I went to school with Michael Fletcher. Who is Michael Fletcher? Is in Who is Michael Fletcher? I don't remember his name. You're thinking, oh, Susan Smith. Yes, drove her kids into the river. She thinks she's up for parole, but she's getting into trouble. Or so I saw something about her case coming back up. Help to her car. That should be a crime. Yeah. I skipped. Lawrence was sentenced to life in prison for killing the children. Oh, that's the case name. By driving into the Detroit River in 1989. Oh, okay, Sam. Thanks. I don't remember that, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's all kind of case law on that. They'll pull it up if they try to use that defense. Yes, they do, and it'll mess with perception. Sure, that's why I was saying loss of coordination. You're impaired cognitively when you mix that stuff. Big time. They bought the house close to the club so that she didn't have to drive drunk. Wow. So then he bought a boat cart and hauled her drunk butt out of the club many times because she couldn't walk. Wow. Do they have any children, Dr. Detroit? I don't see anything about children. I think she retired from DT&E Energy as a supervisor at a nuclear plant. So she had a good job. One of the family members of the children who died did allude to the fact that she has money. I take gabapentin prescribed one. I'm sorry, I take gabapentin prescribed it 3 times a day for anxiety. Been on it for years. I can't take benzos. Yeah, I think they were trying to use gabapentin to replace the benzodiazepine because the withdrawals from the benzos is highly abusive, highly addictive, and highly abused. The benzos and people were dying from the withdrawals. There's very few drugs, believe it or not, that you can actually die from the withdrawals, but alcohol is one of them. Alcohol withdrawals with the delirium, they call them DTs, the delirium tremors or whatever they call it. That it the withdrawal. So I'm sure they're monitoring her very closely, and maybe why they were compassionate enough to give her a bond, because they don't typically do bonds on murder cases, and certainly not a double homicide with 2 little children. Um, Fletcher lawyer who killed his pregnant wife to be with a judge. Wow. No children. Okay. Thank you for giving us that information. I appreciate it. That's why I don't drink. Yeah, you got to be careful. If you do, stay home. That's the whole thing. Don't come out in the world and add to the confusion. Uh, Cymbalta is also used for neuropathy. That's what I do. Try Cymbalta. Okay, good information. Marshella got most of her money from when her mother died. Okay, she inherited a lot of money. Okay. Yeah, I know some of the family members when they did the press conferences, I think they were having a visual or something for the children, and they were saying that they didn't understand why she was still free. And he made the statement, is it because of her money? So I'm like, oh, she's got, yeah, so she's well to do. A drunk working at a nuclear, I think she was a supervisor. I don't think she was actually handling the machinery or the chemicals or whatever. All right, Susan Smith drowned Michael and Alex. Yeah, initially said a black male kidnapped them. Yes, she did. I remember that press conference. She should not be paroled. I don't think they're going to. They say she's been in there sleeping with the parole, uh, the prison guards and everything else, and she had a whole relationship. I think one of the prison guards got fired because they were in a relationship with Susan Smith while she was in jail. So she's been busy. I don't think she's done anything productive in 30 years in that sentence. And she was a young woman, so she could have gotten out and done something with her life. I do believe in criminal justice, but you gotta, there's some conditions around that. She had a chance to stop driving when she bagged into her neighbor's truck parked in the driveway parallel to her own. Yep, but she took off. No seizure at that point. Right. And that's what the prosecutor was saying in the original arraignment. Again, he said there is no evidence that she had a seizure when when this happened. There's no evidence of that. So again, we're in agreement. Someone else said it. I don't know if it was blah 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 or Mike or someone said, you know, the defense is just throwing stuff out the wall, seeing what state. He doesn't have a case. He doesn't have a case. It's unbelievable. Is there anything else Yeah, medical experts, auto collision experts. I think they're going to challenge uh, the EDR data. They're going to challenge the physical signs of intoxication. He's of course denying that because he's saying that, oh, that's the other thing. He said she was very lucid when she talked to the police on the scene, which is true. She was acting very coherent when she was talking to him, but they said her coordination, her balance was off, and she couldn't finish all of her field sobriety tests. Also, character witnesses. I think they. Now the interesting thing about that is that she's now a social pariah, killing them kids like that. So I have no idea if, I'm sure she has people, that friends or whatever, that can attest to something positive about her character. Those are the directions that I'm speculating on in terms of any possible defense for this lady. Yeah, yeah. He doesn't have a choice. I really don't see it being a trial, guys. I just don't. I think he's going to take her through the motions. It may be a situation where he tries to get the charges reduced based on her age and health condition. Again, they got that compassionate release stuff uh, that so she can theoretically she can do 5 years or so and be let out if she's sick, if she's really sick, and or whatever. It could happen. It is a real thing. Dr. Detroit says she'll either get life in prison without parole, but at her age, what is that? About 10 years? Yeah, she'll. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I said the same thing. Any sentence she get at that age is a death sentence. Um, it says it's interesting that her money bought her one of the best DUI lawyers in the state. Yeah, that's what I was telling everybody. Yeah, they say he specializes in those DUI cases. Her body language in court is very interesting. Very is her nonchalance. Am I saying that correctly? It's very disturbing. But I think that that's part of the alcohol uh, dependence as well. She's probably at this point just angry. Blah 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 says I'm sure she's a fine person who made a bad mistake, but she should have to pay like the rest of us. Yeah, yeah, she's not. She's not. They let her off. It's gonna be hell to pay. Cynthia says quitting drinking was one of the best decisions I ever made. Congratulations. Y'all put some hand claps in the chat for Cynthia. I was a substance abuse counselor. It is not easy. It is not easy. It's a terrible, terrible thing. And so people that are in recovery should be commended. I'm a recovering alcoholic with 2.5 years sober. Excellent. Clean and sober. God is good. Amen. I love that. I love that. I love that. Congratulations to you, Cynthia, and thank you for your transparency to share that. Coach says she wants so bad to tell her attorney what she once said. Yeah, I'm sure. And she was a supervisor, so I'm sure she's the A personality type. She's probably a bossy little thing. All right, Cynthia, you're right, 100%. Yeah. So what? She's a functioning alcoholic. Yeah, 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 exactly. Does it? Blah blah blah. You got it. You nailed it. Yeah, praying hands, hearts, and claps for you, Cynthia. Thank you, Miss Rex. Everybody's congratulating you, Cynthia. That's a wonderful thing, and I love that you are able to be transparent and share that, because it helps people. It's difficult, and we are empathetic towards people who are sick and suffering. Mrs. Chidester is sick. She probably, got some personality issues as well. Dr. Detroit talked about her being not so friendly with him. But alcohol and all that stuff make you mean too. It alters your personality. It does all kinds of stuff. That's why it's called mind and mood altering substances, right? Swan Boat Club is basically but a drinking club. Okay, sure, some people own boats, but you don't have to have a boat to be a member. Mixed drinks are $2, and bottled beer is $1.50. Oh, we see. Bring us into focus, Dr. Detroit. Now that's interesting. She's living her best life. It's not an easy journey. Yeah. That's very interesting to know, Dr. Detroit. Yeah. Wow. $2. Probably why the family is suing them. Probably that probably explains why it's called spirits for a reason. Yeah. 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 That's a whole sermon. That'll preach right there. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Cynthia says, yeah. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to sign off. We've done about an hour and a half. We're going to keep having these conversations. I'm going to try and link my little chartings of where I see the cases at this point, some kind of way so that y'all can download and make copies of them and have them for our little discussions as we continue to go through this case. Um, uh, yeah, so I'm gonna do that after the live. Try to figure out some kind of way to get it. If it's not in the description, take a look at the community tab and see if I have it there. The ones that I have there are oversized. So if you try to print them out on your printer, they're much bigger than the 8.5 by 11 portrait size printing. So it's going to be difficult. Um, yeah. Hold on, Cynthia. Okay, Coach says that's where the most devastating part is. She isn't reflecting on her actions and accountability. She's nasty even sober. Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, she's probably in withdrawal. That's probably why she's so angry and mad. I'm sure she's in withdrawal right now. You know, she's alcohol dependent. She's in withdrawal. They probably trying to control her with medication. Read something. I have to go back and look at it, see if I can find it again. Some kind of double blind study they did where they were talking about they were probably going to try to use gabapentin to treat alcohol dependence. Go figure. I gotta find that again. If I do, I'll bring it to you guys, of course. Blah blah blah. Yeah, all I'm hearing is excuses. There's no excuse for driving drunk. She knows it's wrong. She chose to drive. I choose to stay safe. Yeah, absolutely. Most responsible people, most responsible people do. That's what responsible people do. Thank you guys, Coach. Thank you for what you do. I didn't know this existed. Yeah, absolutely. You guys have to camera up. Thanks for the forum. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, ma'am. No, it was so hard, and I do have the moments, but with God and my daughter, I pull through. Thank you, and we're going to continue to Cynthia Sweezy. You guys, everybody, keep her and her family in her prayers, in your prayers, and all of that good stuff. You're going to make it, sis. You really will. I'm so glad I found something happening in Michigan that I can really get into. I do believe I found it. Thank you. Thank you. Blah, 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 blah. I love that screen name. That is so cool. I'm telling you, I used to have it in my office when I was in corporate. Ms. Rex Murphy, grand discussion. Grand discussion. God bless. Absolutely. You guys are the absolute best. All of you guys are new subscribers. Some of you, this is your first time even getting to see me. I rarely ever get to be on camera anymore. But I am so thankful and glad that you guys uh, are able to come in and understand what the platform is about and what get it started to get an idea of what I do here in terms of advocacy and focusing on the community. I use the tag service oriented and society focused. That's my little mantra. So, okay, okay. Have a good day, ma'am. Thank you for the live. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. We will be back as these developments come up. I probably, if you guys want to, we can get together next Saturday and talk about some other cases and all of those types of things and start to have some discussions. I'm trying to make these 9 o'clocks, but sometimes I work late and I'm doing other projects and working on other things besides this Chidester case. And I'm sometimes up all night. So getting up to do nine, I had great intentions this morning. I'm super late, so I appreciate you guys being patient with that. You don't, this is you're new. Everybody's new here. Most of you guys are new here, and so I appreciate y'all giving me the benefit of the doubt and let me come in late and talk to you and have a great conversation. This was a great conversation. I loved meeting you guys and having good feedback and all of that good stuff. So thank you so much, and we'll see you as as these developments come in. Check the community tabs. I'm always posting there to keep you guys up on what's going on and what I'm doing. All right. I appreciate you. Have a great Saturday. See you.
Enjoy more of our videos on the Community Advocate Network channel, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to advertise your service, special announcement, or event, you may contact us at the Community Advocate Network at gmail.com. For community resources or services, visit our website at www.canmichigan.com.